everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Marcia Parker.
And we are here to review the new a week ago release. We finally got around to going to the theater to see it, but we are here to talk about The Possession of Hannah Grace. Marcia, was this on your radar even very much? No?
No.
I basically sent out a message to the chat this morning saying, hey, I'm going to go watch Possession of Hannah Grace a couple of hours before we get together to film. Anyone want to go? Mm-hmm. And Marcia's like, let me check if I can. So she went, and I'm going to start with you, Marcia. Was it worth the $8 for the matinee price?
I think it was worth the matinee price.
Yeah.
It was a fun matinee movie to watch because it was horror, but it wasn't
Absolutely.
like super intense to where like.
I'm curious. Was it rated R? Let me look that up while you're talking. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I wouldn't say it's like a late evening dinner and a movie type of movie to go to, but it definitely was fun to watch as like a nice matinee.
This feels like it would be a good movie to watch before watching a main course movie.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to do a double feature, watch this one first and then have something really good locked and loaded behind it, because this isn't bad.
No.
It just wasn't tremendous.
No.
It's let's see. I've been having that response to a lot of movies actually that I've been watching this year, namely Slender Man and Truth or Dare. I did not have as big of a problem with that movie or with those movies as everyone else did. They're not great, but they're not like the worst things that have ever been made either.
Yeah, we've seen enough of those to know that.
Lord knows. Yeah, I mean, through the course of this 5 years that we've been doing this, trying to see what the rating is. I'm having a hard time finding it. I guess I could just Possession of Hannah Grace rating.
Yeah.
And probably adding the word rating in there is a good idea. And still
nothing. It's not rated.
Oh, rated R. Okay.
Okay.
For gruesome images and terror. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, well, I guess it's not really weird, but if they're going to make this movie rated R and it's about a girl that is, dead, still cruising around being evil, who is completely naked, I'm surprised you don't show some of the nudity. There was zero nudity in the entire movie.
No, you saw some boobs.
No.
I saw some boobs.
Did you? Because
Yeah.
it was all.
I mean, it was
her posture was, her posing was always such that she was covering herself up,
when she
except
was
when she was
over her.
really far away from the camera.
Well, there were times, it wasn't like in focus up in your face boobs, but like
Not like the
It
autopsy of Jane Doe.
right. But there were moments where like when she was like hovering over her, I saw some. I remember seeing it because I remember going,
I don't
oh,
think
boobs.
there were. I don't think there were. But I think the reason for that was being, it's meant to be an underage girl.
Yeah.
A daughter of a man.
I mean, they weren't like, some boobs, is what I'm saying. But they're there.
Again,
that's not focused. It's not your focus. Because just the special effects on it, and we'll get into it. But
we'll get into all that, yeah.
It was just, you couldn't take your eyes off of other features.
I think it is impossible to watch this movie and not directly compare it to the autopsy of Jane Doe. Even though it's sort of, possession versus witchery. I think both movies take place entirely almost in a morgue scenario. So there was a lot of comparisons to be drawn, and I felt that Possession of Hannah Grace was just a little less successful. Here's my problem. It was a standard hour and a half long movie, maybe even 125, but it actually felt a little too long in places because I think it's because the cast was so small. It's largely just this main girl who you recognized from
Pretty Little Liars.
Pretty Little Liars. I have never seen. But
something.
she has to carry the whole movie, and it can feel really slow when it's a lot of her sort of slowly walking around looking at stuff and things like that. So I don't think it did the film as many favors as maybe they were hoping it would have. But I did enjoy the movie overall. I guess we can just do that. I mean, again, it wasn't the best thing I've ever seen, but it was definitely worth the $8 to see on the big screen one time. And it's one I would probably get in a Black Friday sale for like $6 or $7.
Yeah.
That's about how much I would pay.
Keep
again.
it on the shelf.
Yeah, just in case, if I ever want to do, specifically for the channel, if I wanted to do like a deep dive possession movie comparison, that kind of thing. And be good. And same thing with Truth or Dare, or some of the other movies that I picked up for Black Friday this year, Friend Request. You know, if it's cheap enough, it's almost the same cost to buy it as it is to rent it if I ever wanted to watch it again. So I might as well just have it on my shelf.
Right.
This is one of those movies.
Yeah.
But your overall thoughts on it were not bad, not good.
No, I thought it was a middle of the run possession movie. There have been some really bad ones, and there have been some really good ones. And I thought this was a very interesting take of one, because I actually didn't watch Autopsy of Jane.
Oh, really?
Doe,
Okay.
so I still haven't watched that one, so I don't have that comparison, and maybe that's why I feel a little different.
Yeah, I would see that.
Because for me, I was like, oh, this is an interesting concept, because like right off the bat, like, oh, so the person's dead already. Like, okay, what kind of possession story is this if they've already killed her off, you know? And then when we got into it, I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, how is this going to play out? What are they going to do? And the ending kind of threw me, because I thought they were going to go like, oh, they're going to totally do this. And then they didn't.
I thought they were going to do that too.
Yeah. And I was like, oh.
I think they left it open so that they could retroactively do that if it made enough money to warrant a sequel.
Yeah.
They could just have it be the first thing that happens in the new movie.
Because it is such the middle of the road that, like, if they did it, they'd be like, oh, that was obvious. But they didn't do it, so you can't say that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. It's something you're like people would have been coming out of that movie going, I totally saw that coming, but they didn't go through with it.
Because they didn't do it, yeah.
So
you watch the movie, you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
But my overall thoughts, I did like it.
Okay.
I mean, it was enjoyable, and the acting was okay, and I did enjoy to see that actress into something in a movie and doing something else after Pretty Little Liars, because I did like her. So that is good. I'll support her.
I'm sure she appreciates it.
Yeah.
Let's give proper credit where credit's due here. The movie was directed by Diederik van Roetgen, written by Brian Steve, and the stars are Shay Mitchell, Gray Damon, and Kirby Johnson. Yeah. Of course, we should say that Shay Mitchell plays the titular, or not the titular, but the main character, Megan. Gray plays her sort of ex-boyfriend cop person, Andrew. And then Kirby is the one that actually plays Hannah Grace, a.k.a. the Cadaver.
A.k.a. the Cadaver.
So the story. Let's hit the story before we hit the acting. The story is, of course, it starts off with a possession or an exorcism scene.
Right.
Two priests trying to take out a demon out of a little girl by the name of Hannah Grace. Not super little, but probably 15, 16 maybe. Yeah. And then her father is also watching. Her father, by the way, I believe played by the same man that played the father of Nell from The Last Exorcism.
Oh, okay.
So this poor guy has played the father of two different possessed girls, but he was very good for the role. Honestly, role being slightly larger than I anticipated it being. So I actually was appreciative of that, because I think that actor is very good. Yep, The Last Exorcism. He was the father of The Last Exorcism. He's in The Last Exorcism 2, and then in The Last Exorcism in 2010. So. He did indeed play the father of two different possessed women. Oh, poor guy. Nell was the one that was possessed. It was not Emily Rose. I at first my mind jumped to that, but no, it was the one that actually had a sequel. Yeah. He played the father in both of those. So he plays the father of Hannah Grace. This guy can't catch a break. But yeah.
in the seed.
So he actually, the exorcism goes horribly wrong, and she ends up dying. I won't say how exactly, but she ends up dying and goes to a morgue, which is where we meet the main character, Megan, who is an ex-cop who's dealing with post-traumatic stress of some kind. That is a bit of a spoiler, so we won't go into that. And this is her first real job since, and this was ideally picked for her because she deals with anxiety and things like that. It's a very quiet job, and it turns out that one of the first bodies she gets is the body of Hannah Grace. And then things start going weird, and is Hannah actually dead, or is the demon still around causing havoc? That's kind of the crux of the story. So, what did you think of how the story actually played out?
I thought they did a good job. I think it was slow at times, where you're like, okay, let's let's get this going. Like we're revisiting this. Like, is she gonna notice? Is she not gonna notice? Thing. And I feel like they wanted it to a couple incidents to happen for her to actually pick up what was happening. But I think they could have sped it up a little bit more. And just so we could have a little bit more of the confrontation of the two, of her and the demon, Hannah Grace, and kind of enjoy that, because when that was finally full-fledged, you're like, okay, this is really cool. But there was some really fun scares scenes too. I jumped a few times.
She did.
And giggled about it. And there's, I liked all the characters. They weren't very deep. There was the only one that was deep was
true. The only one they gave as much time to was Megan.
Yeah. And her story was interesting one too. So it was good.
Fair enough. Now let's talk about the acting. I want to start with Hannah, because the acting of this little girl who had to, I say little girl, she's probably actually 18, but she might not be. She did such a tremendous job being creepy when she needed to be creepy. And by that, what I mean is, it's funny because a YouTuber I respect by the name of Spooky Astronauts just posted a video about a movie called Terrified that I'm going to be looking at and reviewing that's on Shudder. She talks about the horror of movement, and I've always thought that there are times in which movement can be truly horrifying. I mean, the first Exorcist movie, the deleted scene when she crab crawls upside down the stairs, all that, the nurses in Silent Hill that, and then just freeze and stuff like that. Like, there's that sort of movement. There is movement that can really just creep you out, and they really leaned on that, and that actually worked in conjunction with the sound design of Hannah's movement, because it was Bones almost breaking every little movement that she made. And while it is a little over the top, if you really think about it, it was still really effective. Yeah. So I thought that she did a great job, because a lot of that movement is her. That's her doing all that weird stuff and the weird, the poses that she's forced to be put in and hold still and stuff like that. Like, she was tremendous. What did you think of her?
I thought she did a fantastic job. Just like you were saying, she had to work really closely with the sound design had to have, because the movements, or vice versa, because the movements that she was making, even though the sounds may have been excessive at times, was perfect, because you're thinking of somebody who is in rigor mortis, and then there you go. Yeah, and then is kind of breaking free of that,
or moving in spite of it.
And right. So you're hearing what you would imagine you would hear with somebody just kind of coming into that, and vice versa, when you have actors who were kind of being forced into certain positions, and you can hear their bones breaking from the force of the supernatural against their own force. So I thought that was pretty cool too.
And kind of jumping back to the story just briefly, I liked that there was definitely a tie-in, or not a tie-in, but an homage to the way another movie worked, an homage to Hellraiser. And having just watched it, you might be able to guess, in as much as things that was happening to Hannah as the movie progressed as well. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I haven't seen that in anything else but Hellraiser. Right. So I was interested to see them play their hand at it, and I thought it was effective enough. Yeah. Because it added a certain level of mystery. Yeah. And then it actually played out in front of you towards the end of the movie, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. So, everything that she's done has been for a specific reason in order to fix this, it was really kind of cool how it played out. So what I ended up finding is that there was enough little elements in this movie that I enjoyed that were done for reasons other than reasons I had seen been done before, that I enjoyed it, if that makes any sense.
It was like every act that Hannah was doing, or even any of the characters were doing, there was purpose behind it, and it wasn't, and nothing felt like an act of convenience to me.
Well,
Besides
there was
the job.
a couple of conceits, but nothing over the top.
Yeah,
and
nothing
like,
that would
come
pull
on.
me out of
Yeah,
it.
right. Okay.
Nothing that
That's
would
fair.
pull me out of it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
By the way, we should mention, since we're in the acting, surprise appearance for me by Nick Thune of Dave Made a Maze.
Yeah.
He shows up as a guy dropping off the body, as a matter of fact, and he's really fun to watch. He's the bearded version of Nick Thune, and I enjoyed his acting a lot. I enjoyed Megan as well.
Yeah.
I even enjoyed her ex, Andrew. I thought the cop did a good job too. What did you think of the rest of the acting besides Hannah?
I think everybody did their job.
Fair
really, because I mean, like they said before, they didn't have like an opportunity to really like catch your eye because they were all kind of like shallow, deep kind of characters, but they still played their roles really well. Nobody pulled me out of it. Even the goofy night cop, Dave. I mean, he was a little ridiculous at times, but at the same time, he played his role to the way he should have. And then her friend was very sincere and felt very genuine as well. And there wasn't a lot of characters to like really pull from, which I think was good too, because it really gave you that idea of like a night shift atmosphere.
Yeah, you're not
because
wrong.
you're gonna have just like the bare bones there. And I guess part of me was like, why would she be the only one working the morgue by herself at night? But then I'm like, well, like they don't have a lot of staff in need.
Yeah.
Why would you have more than one? Versus like maybe safety reasons. But
I mean, it might not be specifically true to reality, but it was real enough for me to work for the movie. So
it's just the one thing that I kept asking, like, why is she by herself?
Let's talk about the effects.
Yes.
Okay. I think to me there obviously was some digital manipulation, but not as much as I thought there would be.
Right.
It was actually very heavily practical. It was makeup effects.
Yeah.
More so than digital effects.
Yeah, and they
yes,
were
there was some
impressive.
digital manipulation putting her in places that she couldn't be necessarily.
Yeah.
But that also could have just been camera tricks just as easily. But yeah, the makeup had to evolve over time, and I thought that the effects
and almost devolve.
True. Fair enough. All right. Good. Well played. But no, I really enjoyed, especially at first when we first see, rigor mortis set in Hannah. It's disturbing to see what's been done, and it's like, oh my god, that possession scene was way worse than we thought. But
like what happened?
yeah, where did that come from? A little bit of that, but nonetheless, it all looked really good and really effective. And it's kind of cool the way they revealed it, which was generally through morgue photos or morgue photo attempts. So you get quick glimpses of close-ups of the thing before they fade away, and then you're left with the wides again and stuff like that. Oh, cameo. But yeah, what did you think of the effects?
I thought they did a fantastic job. I thought it was very impressive with when you really looked at Hannah's body and you saw like just how like she was hacked at the neck and then in the side and then her
Burned
burns
on half the body,
the burns.
basically.
Like, I mean, it reminded me of like a burnt marshmallow, but at the same time, but I mean, because it's
And
like
yet,
skin.
juxtaposed by a crystal blue eye. Like, it was so disturbing.
Yeah. And as soon as you saw the eye, you knew.
Like,
And I thought they did a fantastic job. It's so impressive, and I didn't feel like anything was overdone or underdone.
Okay.
And even with like the other kills, you don't see a lot.
Yeah.
But from what you do see, it was enough. Like the ambulance guy.
Mm-hmm.
You see the wreckage of him, and it wasn't like super ridiculously gory.
No.
It was the right amount.
Sure. So yeah, I think overall the movie just wasn't as bad as everyone. I don't know. I haven't even seen that many hating reviews. It just doesn't seem to be doing that well. It is pretty, like you said, middle of the road. So it's not the most overwhelming thing. It's not the most underwhelming thing. It's worth a watch. It's worth at least one watch, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, either go to the matinee to watch it, or even like it's Monday night and you want something to kind of fall asleep to. Well, don't fall asleep during the movie, but something to watch and just kind of relax and not be hyped up and scared to go to sleep at night. But still be able to enjoy a horror movie. this would be it.
It's a good enough one and done sort of little thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, why don't you guys let us know in the comments down below. Are you excited to check this movie out? Have you watched it? What did you think? Keep it non-spoiler if you possibly can, but let us know your thoughts. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
I'm Marcia Parker.
Thank you very much to our patrons. If you want to become a patron, you can click the link to the description box, or in the description box down below. And then if you, depending on the tier that you choose, you can actually tell us some movies to review, or books or games or anything along those lines, a commentary, what have you. Thank you very much to those of you that support us that way. Thank you very much to all of you that watch the channel. If you haven't, for some reason, if you're new to the channel, click that that describe button, the subscribe button, which is actually down here, Marcia, down there. And then click the link, or click the bell for the notifications. I think that's, somewhere over there. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
I'm Marcia Parker.
And remember, stay scared.